Strangeland. It's been about 4 years since we had the last full-length album. Obviously, there was touring behind the mini album, but let's talk about everything else in between and what was going on in the making of this record and when it actually went back to start for the series of this record.
So yeah, it's kind of been at least 3 years in the making, if not a bit longer. Yeah. When did you first start writing songs for it, Tim?
I think 3 years is about right. Yeah, there's I had to write a lot of songs to get to any half decent stuff. Yeah, so that took a long time, and then we started recording beginning of last year. And took a long time over that. We're pretty slow. We have a lot of tea breaks, a lot of time in the pub.
How many songs did you write before you got to the halfway decent ones?
Well, I wrote about 80 altogether, and well, funnily enough, Sovereign Light Cafe, which is kind of definitely feels like one of the main songs on the album, was I think pretty much the first one. And then there was like a really bleak patch of just
about 65 songs in between.
Crap, yeah. Yeah, you know, I find I sort of write probably 5 songs at least to get to every sort of really good one, or what I consider to be really good anyway, you know.
Yeah, and then he emails it to us and we all say we hate it.
Yeah.
Did you spend more time on this album as opposed to previous ones? And not so much the writing process of it, but actually going into a studio and recording it and rehearsing and getting it down. Was it longer than previous ones, or about the same for what you normally do?
I think there was a sense of, instinctively, we wanted to get back in a way to the spirit of how we went about making Hopes and Fears, which was, yeah, well, you can't entirely do that, but with that album, obviously, you know, we had a long, long time, in fact, most of our lives up until that point, to write that record. And the songs went through quite a rigorous process of being polished up and kind of made more concise and finding a kind of really great atmosphere for the record. And also doing a lot of kind of pre-production before we committed the songs to a proper record. So with this album, yeah, we did spend quite a bit longer. Obviously, yeah, again, started with Tim's writing, giving him longer to write, and then we spent about 6 months, would you say, in Tim's studio in Sussex, in England, and we just sort of rehearsed the songs into shape, and we were recording as we went along, but they weren't the sort of finished article, and then we sort of finished it sort of during the last few months of last year. But it was definitely quite a sort of liberated process, because we were at Tim's new studio. It was the first album we've made there, so there weren't the time constraints of being in a kind of, you know, big London studio or like Perfect Symmetry, which we recorded in Berlin. You know, we were in a studio that cost an absurd amount of money per day. You know, we had the freedom of being there and the familiarity of the surroundings and all Tim's enormous collection of keyboards and the pub, etc.
You brought up Hopes and Fears, and as I was telling Tim before, I mean, I feel with this record, and it's not taking anything away from previous records, but I feel that, you know, the vibrancy and like that first time putting out a record atmosphere is on this record. It's like you listen to it and fun and smiles is coming out of this record for whatever reason. Is that something that you didn't really realize, or it's just, you know?
I think I'd agree with that. I think we probably know ourselves as a band better than we ever have done, in a way. Is that true? No.
Yeah, probably. I think it's, you know, there was definitely a lot of confidence when we started it, because we spent all that time writing the songs. You don't have that feeling where you go into a studio and you sort of think, well, we've got kind of 5 good songs and 3 which are kind of okay, and then hopefully we'll write some more before, like, you know, we have to finish recording. So and when you're a touring band, you're often under that pressure, because you tour a record into a record and suddenly realise you've got to make another one and you haven't written enough songs, and you go into the studio in a big panic, and you know, and I think that brings a certain kind of nervousness to proceedings, which we probably felt with our second and third albums. And with this one, we just, like Tom said, we took our time, and I think as soon as we started, we just thought, like, we've got a really strong set of songs here, and from that moment on, you've got a lot more space to experiment and have fun and enjoy it without worrying that the sort of the basic thing is flawed.
I mean, maybe it hits me even more so feeling like the first record because of, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't think I am, but Perfect Symmetry more of an experimental and an adventurous record than previous ones?
For
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, definitely. You know, we just went to Germany and went to a bar quite a lot, and
That
eventually-
theme's cropping up a lot, isn't it?
Yeah, we found a really good bar that was open like 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, except for Wednesday afternoons. So we went to the studio on Wednesdays. No, it was a lot of fun in Germany, but we didn't have a producer. This is the first record where we've had a producer as well, so someone else that's kind of cracking the whip and saying, you know, come back from the pub and do some work. So I think that helped, and also gave us a bit more time. It was someone else who's worrying about, everything about the recording that gave us a bit of freedom in a way to just worry about the parts we were playing. And I think he did a really good job of capturing the fun we had when we were making the record, because it was really relaxed, and it can be quite stressful being in a studio because you feel all this pressure on whoever's playing at the time. And it seemed, I don't know, really relaxed this time.
Dominic Haggerty wants to know the strangest fan experience.
Give us one that's not strange. No.
The fact that we have fans is pretty...
Yes. We've had some fairly strange experiences in general.
I got a pretty good one. I think I might have said this before, but we were on tour in I was in Mexico City. We were on tour, and I was on iChat, video chat with my now wife, and I'd ordered some room service, hotel room, and the computer was facing the door, and someone knocked on the door. I opened the door, and it was a girl fan, asking if she could come into my hotel room, while my wife was watching on.
Did she just see the laptop lid?
Do you know what though? I think this is the most elaborate excuse, and he's just saying it.
Keep
in public
repeating
to
it
make,
to try and make it true. Is that what you're saying?
Basically, yeah.
No, it was slightly awkward because I was just expecting food, not anything.
You seem to have a
more.
habit of that because you came back to your room in South America and there was someone in there
Oh yeah,
stealing
that's right.
stuff.
There was a thief in my hotel room. I just pulled the door shut again and held it shut till the security guys came along. Yeah, that was pretty weird.
We did an acoustic show like this on the Great Wall of China last year, which has to be one of the more strange experiences that we've ever had. It was amazing. Like these poor guys having to carry it wasn't a baby grand, but it was a proper upright piano up the steps, knocking chunks off the Great Wall of China as they went. And then we were sat up there playing our music with the Great Wall of China, so snaking back over the hills. That was a pretty magical experience.
Lisa Quackenerney, I believe is how it's pronounced, wants to know, Tom, what's
That's a made-up name.
Yeah.
Fascinating woman.
Tom, what is your favorite sandwich?
Don't say duck.
Well, do you know what?
Or man.
Yes, you did say that out loud, Tim.
He's got nothing left to say now.
Do you know what? I rate hotels on how good their club sandwich is.
Where's the
Yeah.
best?
Yeah, where's the best?
I can't remember. The Four Seasons in Mexico City. Yeah, there we go. So club sandwich.
What about those when we were recording in London? There was a place just across the road that had these amazing salt beef sandwiches.
Harry Ramsden?
That's a fish and chip shop, isn't it?
Is it? I can't remember.
Anyway,
Harry something.
should we have this conversation
There's
another
loads,
time?
loads of other exciting
You did
stories.
ask.
Lisa, you kind of got your answer. This one is from Diego Henrique. Are there plans for a new live DVD after the Strangeland tour?
I keep suggesting it to our manager, and he comes up with increasingly elaborate reasons as to why it's not a good idea. I don't know if we all just look really old and fat now or something. He just doesn't want us to see it.
We could make it a comedy video.
I think the last one was
Yeah.
I know, that was a horror.
Yeah.
Kyler Briscoe wants to know, will you be attempting any more collaborations like the one you did on Night Train? And if so, or if not, maybe if you're thinking about it, who would you really like to work with?
It'd be nice to do some more. We really enjoyed it a lot, and you learn so much. That's the best thing about it, I think. You sort of it sort of frees you up to be like a completely different kind of band. You suddenly, when we were working with Keane on it, we suddenly started playing like a completely different band. But yeah, I don't know.
I think it's time for a boy-girl duet. I think Tom needs to, you know.
Team up with a boy.
There are some really great British singers around at the moment, and Tom. Yeah, so I don't know, like Lily Allen or Florence, or I don't know. There are some really great sort of female British singers around that I think it would be really fun. And Tim's written a couple of really dark, sort of slightly gothic songs. I think we should do a sort of gothic duets EP or something. That would be pretty fun.
Yes.
They're actually really good. There's one called Valentine that I think is that your favourite song that Tim's ever written or something?
By a mile.
It's absolutely brilliant. So, I mean, it
It'll never
means
get
nothing
released.
to you, but yeah.
On that note, maybe Susie Sue or PJ Harvey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why not?
Susie Sue would be a good one to do.
That'd be interesting.
Good
wouldn't it?
advice.
You did South by Southwest this past March. That was the first time you played South by Southwest, right? But you've been there before?
Shamefully. No, have we? No, we've not
No.
even been there before.
Never went.
What a great festival that is. It's madness.
And you played on, if I'm not mistaken, the Saturday, which was St. Patrick's Day, which probably added to the mayhem.
Yeah, at a barbecue, at Stubbs Barbecue. It was chaos.
Yes.
But great. Really, really
Good
fun.
chaos.
Amazing crowd, yeah.
Did you get a chance to, I mean, were you there just for that day? Were you there for a few? Did you get a chance to walk around? And, I mean, unfortunately this year you had to avoid 6th Street because it was just so crazy. It was like Memorial Day weekend at the Jersey Shore. It was Mardi Gras. It was St. Patrick's Day and South by Southwest all rolled into one. Did you get a chance to go to any other shows, or were you just there for that day? Or
Went to a few, didn't we?
Yeah.
But one of my friends who goes every year said, don't try and go and see any bands. I was like, the whole point is to go and watch bands. He goes, if you go and try and see them, you won't get in. You won't find out when they're playing. So all the best bands that we saw, you just stumble across.
And
We went
Jesse
to
and I went to see the debut of the Mumford and Sons road movie. Oh God, what's it called? It's like Big Easy Express.
Big Easy Express.
And they played, and Edward Sharp and the Magnetics played, and both of those were absolutely fantastic. It was just as the sun was going out. And then we had our show that night, and we couldn't get a cab back, so we ended up like walking most of the way
We walked for
back.
about a mile into town, and then we met this woman who was just standing there.
And so she was waiting for
So
a
she
cab.
walked with us, and then we got in the cab, and the guy took us to
He
Starbucks on the wrong side of town. He goes, "Here you are, Starbucks." We were like, "No, Stubbs." He goes, "Oh dear." It's like, so we
And
got
this
to
was like-
Stubbs, and we were like pushing through the crowd, hi to all our friends, and like poor Colin, our tour manager, was palpitating and turning white, and we walked straight onto stage and played, looking like shit.
well, we want to thank you. Strangeland, the new album, as I said, just a brilliant, brilliant record. I think everybody agrees. Thank you. Thank everybody for being here this afternoon and enjoying
Thanks
this.
a lot.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Tom,
It's very
Tim,
kind
Richard,
of
and
you.
Jesse of Keane, thank you very much.
Thank you.